Thank you. We've heard a lot, not only today, but throughout the last several months and even years on this issue from the other side. And I want to get a few things straight. President Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And I think a lot of politicians in here could learn a lot from that. He's doing what he said he was going to do. He's doing what he has an electoral mandate to do, and that is he ran on removing illegal immigrants from our streets, even in places like Chicago, and he ran on restoring order in our country, and that includes Chicago too. And another thing we need to realize is that law enforcement, they're not causing chaos. Law enforcement following the law isn't chaos, it's order, and it's desperately needed. I don't think anybody would dispute that crime is out of control in Chicago. You can talk about the numbers, they can talk about anything they want. I don't think anybody disputes that it's out of control. Illegal immigration under President Otto Penn was completely out of control. Speakers previously have talked to it. Now, there's places around the country, places like Memphis and Washington, D.C., they've been able to, the Democrat leadership in those cities have been able to put some of the political differences aside and actually work with the administration, work with the federal partners, work with law enforcement trying to do their job because they recognize that there is a constitutional authority from the executive, from the chief executive officer of the United States of America. And furthermore, it actually benefits their citizens to get some help in here and to restore order in the streets. But not in Illinois. We're way more concerned about our politics. We're way more concerned about our fantasies running for presidents. We're way more concerned about the Chicago mayor trying to get above 6% in the polls. Our attorney general says it all the time. Illinois is refusing help because they hate Trump more than they love the people of their own state. And that's a disaster. Governor J.B. Pritzker has deliberately sowed seeds of chaos. He's promoted resistance to law enforcement. He's even now threatening to prosecute members of law enforcement just for doing their job. That's ridiculous because that's the same law enforcement agents who have put their lives at risk, taking murderers, rapists, pedophiles, sex traffickers. That's all documented. They've taken those people off the streets in Chicago, and his disgusting cheerleading has it's absolutely emboldened these anti-American agitators that he's got on the streets of Chicago and has put them into direct conflict with law enforcement. And our own speaker, he's not innocent either. He stood on this floor and ranted and raged like a lunatic, yelling, "Fascism, fascism." Do you think it's any mistake that was written on a bullet that killed Charlie Kirk? It's that you want to talk about violent political rhetoric, there it is. And then he goes on social media and says, fight, continue fighting. Who does he think that these people are fighting? You think it's tyranny? Seriously? We sat here for 2 years under tyranny from your tyrannical governor when he shut down this state, when he abused children, when he destroyed our economy. You sat here for 2 years under that tyranny. You didn't say a peep. You hid under your desk. So don't talk to me about tyranny or fighting tyranny. What you're fighting, when you're telling people to fight, your followers are fighting law enforcement. You and the governor, when you say fight, you're fighting against the constitutional directives of the chief executive of the United States who is acting within his constitutional authority. Now, there's a word that the left loves to throw around about that I think perfectly describes this type of action: insurrection. That's what we're seeing here. And Democrats, they've already established a precedence on how they treat people that they deem to be insurrectionists. They kick down their doors and they they lock them up and throw away the keys. Now, the governor and the Democrats, they've really backed themselves, but more importantly, they've backed our state and our citizens into a dangerous corner with their defiance of law and order. The only option with all of their rhetoric, the only option for them is chaos, it's disorder, it's violent, because they can't let President Trump come in here and bring order to the city of Chicago. It's not an option. That would be a political disaster for them if President Trump came in and restored order. Because when President Trump, it will happen, because when President Trump and the law enforcement officials restore order in Chicago, it's going to expose Governor Pritzker, it's going to expose all of these Democrats for the frauds that they are. Because they sat by and they let this happen. They have ruled Chicago and the state of Illinois for decades. They've destroyed their own community. They've robbed their own communities of opportunity because they care more about themselves and their political narrative than they do about the people being destroyed in their own communities. So the days of just standing aside and watching these communities unravel and being wrecked is over. And I say God bless President Trump for having the courage to come in and stand up for these regular citizens that's been disenfranchised by decades of political malfeasance by the majority party.